Cheers. Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Sorry I can't be there in person to do this today. So it sounds like an award speech when I say that. But this is going to sound like quite a silly question maybe to start with, but you know how this story ends as people, and I just wondered if it can be hard removing that knowledge as an actor and playing in the moment, because the characters feel such a sense of hope at times when we know in real life that obviously proved to be kind of misplaced.
Yeah, definitely. We had to keep reminding ourselves, or I certainly did, every day not to play the end of this show.
It's one of the first things that Tony and Joan said to us. Just remember, don't play the end. The end doesn't exist for these characters, it was a really good note.
Yeah. I think that's what makes it feel hopeful and probably adds, lightness to the show.
Because through Anne Frank's diaries, we all feel such a kind of close connection to her and her family. It's partly what makes it such kind of emotive and stirring text. And I just wondered, having now played these characters in this world, do you feel a kind of an even greater affinity? And does that happen to actors? If you play real figures, do you grow a kind of unique kind of attachment and affection towards them?
Always. I mean, first of all, I can't really play a character. I don't know. It's just as that's part of my process, or if I think a lot of actors like this, but I don't know. I can't really play a character unless I like them, unless I can find a way to understand their behavior and what they've been through. And so I think getting closer to these characters certainly it meant a lot to me to learn the things that I've learned about Otto. But the big revelation for me was Miep. Because in the book, which we all read as school kids, Miep was this incidental character, and you realize in this story that none of this would exist if it weren't for her, and that in reality, the risks that she took over that incredibly extended period of time and the things that she did were really extraordinary.
Yeah, I think I feel more of an affinity with all of these characters since making this show. I've had obviously read Anne Frank's diary, but I think that her and the Franks have kind of been immortalised in this book. And I think what this show has done for me is humanised everyone again. It really made me actually think about, their actual human experiences and, just in, I don't know, like talking about like needing to pee or like arguing with your parents or, with your husband and, trying to parent your teenage daughter. Like it was those things that have made me like humanize Anne again rather than just thinking about her in terms of the diary and, the best-selling book.
It's really smart to keep the Franks and the war and the Nazis and even the Jews peripheral, because it kind of, in a funny way, gives you a fresh take on the story and almost behind-the-scenes take on the story, to be a fly on the wall of the Frank family. And that was that for me, I really liked that about taking Miep's perspective. Aside from the debt I think we owe her in terms of history.
Yeah, because Bel, I mean, I always find you to be such a natural performer who brings real lightness and relatability to your roles. But there's such a great deal of responsibility playing a character like Miep. But your performance remains as kind of natural as ever. I just wondered, did you have to almost unburden yourself with that weight of responsibility and treat the role as you would any other? And if so, how did you do that on this occasion?
Whoa. Okay, well, I think if you go into it just feeling like the weight of that responsibility is incredibly overwhelming and you're probably not going to do a very good job. I mean, like what Liev was saying at the beginning of this conversation, like I can only act if I feel connected to the character, and feeling the things that make me feel connected to me are the relatable things. I don't know, like being young and being in love and like being, I don't know, not having a job and like feeling a bit lost, or, going out and partying with your friends.
Yeah.
Like those are the things that make her relatable. And also, I think I had to remind myself, and also it was very comforting for me that, the real Miep, she never wanted to be put on a pedestal. She never wanted to be seen as a saint. She wanted us to see ourselves in her. So that allowed me maybe to feel like it was okay to bring part of myself into this role, because I think that's what she wanted.
So that was quite a deep question. So my next question would be a bit lighter, but Amsterdam's such a beautiful place. Did you guys get the chance to be tourists and kind of go out?
We had so much fun in Amsterdam. We love it so much. It's an incredible, incredible city. We had fun in Prague as well. We're very lucky to...
Yeah, Bel was sort of the ringleader. I don't mind if I never see another degustation menu again, but it was a lot of fun.
I went to Prague a couple of years ago, and I just couldn't get over the head that the bit that get over the fact the beer is like halfway down the beer's head, and then it's beer. And I was like, what? But that's just the way they drink it there. And it was great. And,
Yeah,
And the beer is so tasty. I don't like beer in London, but I love beer in Prague. Maybe that was just because I was working hard and I wanted to drink a lot.
I was going to ask too, because I went to the Holocaust Library here in London, and there was a reading there from a book about the Kinder transport, which my grandfather was on. And there was a survivor there, and she was very old. And it kind of suddenly made me quite sad and realised that time isn't kind of waiting for anyone, and soon there's not going to be anyone left from that period in history. I just wondered, as actors, do you feel a sense of kind of responsibility to keep telling stories and taking part in stories about that time, to keep the stories alive, I suppose?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's super hard, and to find new ways to access these stories and to allow access for younger generations, and that's the trick, and it's part of what I appreciated so much about working with Bel, is that I could see that she was trying to keep it fresh. I could see that she was trying to keep it. She was leaning into the humor. She was leaning into the progressive contemporary ideas that were in the story. It's incredibly important, because I think, as we're all seeing right now, these things have a way of repeating themselves. That and the patterns should be identifiable. The misinformation, the scapegoats, the taking sides, the divisiveness, the nationalism, all of those things. And I think it's important that we know that we've dealt with this in the past and how we dealt with it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today, guys, and best luck with the release of the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!